Okay, so I'm Marcia Stefanick, and I'm really happy that you're all here. We do expect people to fill up this room by the time we get to 12:30, but PJ Utz and I are hosting this together, and so we want to welcome all of you. And what I wanted to do is tell you a little bit about the Wisdom Center and what we are. So this is Women's Health and Sex Diversity in Medicine. And so just so you know how this came to be, in 2010, we started working with Phil Pizzo, who was the dean before our current dean, on a strategic plan that included an executive group. There are a few people that are still here from that executive group. Many of them have moved on, but you can see the names of the group that we had. So Jonathan Barrick, Linda Boxer, Laura Roberts, and David Stevenson are still here. But we also had 18 faculty, and we had to go through a really rigorous process working on a vision statement and a mission. So some of you have been there back in the past, remember those strategic plans. But our vision is healthy women and men from conception through the life course. And our mission is advancing human health across the lifespan through research and education on women's health, biology of sex differences, and gender medicine. We then launched the center in 2013, and I'm going to show you what we've done since that time. We were funded at that time by the Dean's Office, and every department in the School of Medicine contributed. Then we had to go back through the Dean's Executive Committee after 3 years to basically get the approval to continue. At some point, the department said, wait, there's a Dean's tax, how come we're paying for this? So the Dean took us over. And we did change our name in 2024 from Sex Differences to Sex Diversity. We have an advisory board that helps us with, we used to have seed grants. We haven't been able to get funding for the seed grants for the last 2 years, but we had a very rigorous review process. And many people who are here today actually got seed grants from the Wisdom Center, so they had some of the preliminary work that went into hopefully the U54, but other issues as well. So our return on investment, we think, has been very good, but those of you who know the faculty will see that we have a lot of diversity in our advisory board. We also have representatives from every department in the School of Medicine, almost every, the ones that don't have pictures, we're in flux at the moment, but the basic scientists and the clinical departments. So we have our representatives telling us, we keep an inventory of all the research that's done in the School of Medicine on women's health and sex differences from basic all the way through to population science. I will tell you that when we started, one of our missions was to host the Organization of the Study of Sex Differences here at Stanford, and if you don't remember, we did that in 2015, and so that was a big exciting thing. There is a group that's called Sex and Gender Health Education Summit. There was a huge meeting at the Mayo Clinic in 2016, and they provided funds to the deans of every school of medicine in the country to send one person. I was lucky enough to be the person that got to attend that. It was a really big deal trying to get sex and gender onto the medical school curricula. We had another one in Utah that was kind of a notch down. We weren't very successful at doing this. What we've learned is that you have to get it on the boards or they're not going to change the curriculum. But I will tell you, other universities have done a better job than Stanford at getting this on the curricula. We still are trying all the time. I became a member of the scientific program committee for the third one, and then COVID hit, so we had to do that online, and we also did the fourth one in COVID. Last year we had one in Boston, but I will tell you, Stanford has been represented at every one of these. And so we had a panel on one of them that was a sex and gender minority panel, where we actually had many people who were representing multiple identities, so we went after intersectional identities for that particular panel. Last year, Benji Lanakea, who some of you know is the director of our sexual diversity committee in the medical school, presented. And this year, I'm actually doing a keynote in the San Francisco at the March thing. And I'm also doing a similar keynote at OSSD, which, by the way, turns out to be about the Women's Health Initiative and why we are back to debating the risks and benefits of menopausal hormone therapy. So some of you might know that this has been an ongoing battle for about 25 years of my life. Also, I was on the advisory committee for the Office of Research on Women's Health, where I've been able to see these amazing U54 programs. So if you're not aware, this is really a big feather in the cap of Stanford. So congratulations to Howard and PJ for making this happen here, and for the team that you're going to be able to hear from. I also was on it when we were doing the strategic plan, when we were really focusing on sex as a biological variable, which was a really important thing that happened in 2015, where everybody had to basically include men and women. They should be doing analyses. We should not be seeing data that only have everybody mixed together. We should always be seeing women and men separately. Many groups would also like to see non-binary. Now that's a bit of a challenge at the moment. But just so you know, if you're not aware, Stanford also has one of the premier programs for gender research. And this is Londa Schiebinger, who's a history of science professor who came to basically be the director of the Clayman Institute, which is the Institute of Gender Research. And she has this amazing program called Gendered Innovations, which really talks about how do you do gender analysis in these things that we do. And it's challenging for many biologists to figure out how do we talk about gender in the context of sex. But we actually did try and figure out how to measure gender, and so this is the gender as sociocultural variable that we did. So I'll go a little more quickly and basically say our educational mission is that we have a lot of courses that are on controversies and topics of women's health, sex and gender, and human physiology and disease, health impact of sexual assault, sexual function and diversity. We have a course on a seminar series on queer health and medicine. We engaged Clea Sarnquist to create a global medical issues of affecting women's health. We also have an intro sem on challenging sex and gender dichotomies in human biology and medicine. And then we have these programs. So winter quarter, we try and do a basic and translational symposium on sex differences with a different theme every year. We also have a spring annual women's health forum. And then we have other special programs. So just to let you know, we started this first B&T research on sex differences symposium in 2010. It was called Beyond X and Y. We actually had all 5 institutes of medicine present over the course of a whole day. We learned that half-day things work a lot better than whole day. So with that, we then focused on the Cardiovascular Institute worked with us. Then we had a whole series, and I did highlight 2014 with Mark Davis. We actually put together our first program on sex differences in immunology. And Sabra Klein, who's here with us today, was one of our keynote speakers 12 years ago for that. We also have done cancer with the Cancer Institute, cardiovascular health with the Cardiovascular Institute, neuroscience with Wu Tsai. We then did Y, X, and Y, or YX, sexy chromosomes, so we focused on the genetics of X and Y chromosomes. We also have done puberty, conception through puberty, so we did a little pregnancy then. So we did actually pregnancy with the Maternal Child Health Research Institute. Then we did one on the sensorium, where we were looking at vision, hearing, smell, sexual well-being. We did one on cancer, back to cancer. And then we did sex differences in pain during the pandemic. And then last year we had a bit of a hiatus because of COVID really disrupted things, but we did genetics of sex, and we did have Howard Chang present last year, and also David Page on the X chromosome and human X and Y chromosomes. And today we're doing autoimmunity and immunology of infectious disease. I do want to mention our women's health programs as well. So we started this in 2010 also. We've had many different themes over the years. One year we actually didn't have it because we wanted to welcome Leslie Subach, our new chair at that time. Then we did one on gender matters, where we really talked about gender and how this interfaces everything. We also did prioritizing prevention with Kirsten Bibbins Domingo when she was the chair of the U.S. Preventive Services Task Force. We had a big one on global health. We did sexual and gender minority health. And then we became part of the women, we did a Women's Health Pavilion at the Health Matters. And we're doing that again this year, but we're also going to be doing adverse pregnancy outcomes and cardiovascular health. So you're going to hear an amazing program today. So you have the program. I won't go through all of it. Dr. Utz will be presenting the moderating part, but we have an amazing program looking at this. We have two amazing outside non-Stanford people who are former and current chairs of U54s on immunology. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to PJ Utz, who is the moderator for our session.
So I also just want to thank a few people. First, Cheryl, Rebecca, and Amy. Thank you so much for organizing this. I can tell you without all of their hard work, there's no way any of this would have happened. So thank you very much. I also want to thank our guest speakers, and we have several visiting speakers from other SCORE centers, either current or past SCOREs, and we're trying to build a network across the country of the SCOREs. Third, I'd like to thank the NIH. So we have been really fortunate to get this U54 grant, and both of our program officers, Rajiv Agrawal and Hae-Young Park, were instrumental in helping us to get these awards. And then last, I want to thank Howard, who's going to come up and introduce our first speaker. Just so everyone fully understands this grant, Howard did all of the work to get this pulled together in July of 2024. And it wasn't easy getting all of us to get everything in July. It was the middle and late July, but we got everything in, submitted, and then Howard was recruited away to Amgen right before it was going to be reviewed. So he and I orchestrated getting it turned over to me to try to shepherd through. So I want to really thank Howard for his vision in putting this whole thing together and for the science that you're going to hear about today. So thank you so much. Howard, you're up.
Marcia talked about the series of seminars that relate to, for example, the genetics of sex differences. And that really links to this topic today, because what you will learn from about our U54 is really first start from fundamental research, understanding the mechanisms that make gene expression equivalent between males and females that have different chromosome complements, especially for the sex chromosomes. Subsequently, this work led to a new idea about why women are preferentially impacted by autoimmune diseases. I'm a physician scientist. I saw many of these patients with autoimmune diseases. And so I think it was a serendipity that led to that insight. But then finally, we were joined by really talented and brave scientists in the lab, including Jin Wu, Diana Du, and others, who really made this science happen. And I want to also acknowledge, of course, PJ, Lori, Mark, and many others who actually, and Emma, whose really input made this science possible. Now, coming to this U54, I have to say that I think the U54 took a step for the better. It got upgraded when PJ took over as the leader, because really what he didn't say was a series of requests and changes coming from the NIH about reformatting, changing words, resubmitting multiple rounds. But his fortitude and leadership really made this center possible. So thank you, PJ.